Is Brock Purdy worth losing any of the three following players in the next 3 seasons, this season and the next 2 seasons? That is Fred Warner, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Trent Williams, Dre Greenlaw, Nick Bosa, Brandon Ayuk, and Charvarius Ward or Diamador Lenore. So any of those three players, is Brock Purdy worth keeping if you understand that three of those players are directly impacted and lost? Mike, do you have
Now,
anything?
let me explain before anyone decides to try to answer this question. Brock Purdy's contract is going to be so massive on an annual basis. We have to lose three of those guys once that APV, AAV, whatever, however you want to call it, once that kicks in, we are going to have to give up three of those guys, right? We talked about the value of, and Kyle did it again on the TK show. He talked about, well, we looked at losing Buckner, and he didn't want to do it, but that meant that if we kept Buckner, we were going to lose Jimmy Ward and Eric Armstead, right? He named those two players, but he said that it could have meant three players. So I'm looking at what the average per year would cost for Brock Purdy. Is it worth giving up three of those higher end players? So the high end players on this team are the ones that Zach named: Fred Warner, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Trent Williams, Dre Greenlaw, Nick Bosa, Brandon Ayuk, and then you can split between Diamador Lenore or Charvarius Ward, because they have to decide between those two corners. So they're a slash. It's one or the other, not both. Are you willing to keep Brock Purdy if that means you have to give up three of those players? And that's kind of the minutia. That's kind of the area that the 49ers are in right now. Because once Brock Purdy gets this deal and it becomes effective, they can't afford at least 2-3 of those guys. Is he worth giving up those three players in his stead? And that's what I want. That's what I want to know from myself and you two and the people watching this broadcast right now. Is Brock Purdy worth keeping over three of those players on that list?
Yeah. I can go first. Without a doubt, I am sorry. I love those players. I hope all of them retire 49ers. But we've seen what this team looks like without a quarterback, even below Brock Purdy's caliber, but at Brock Purdy's caliber, and it's not good. You're not going anywhere. It doesn't matter how talented your team is. If you have a shitty quarterback, maybe you can drag them to a wild card and maybe win a game. I mean, there's one situation basically in all of NFL history, and it's one because it's referenced consistently, and that's Trent Dilfer's Ravens. When they won with Trent Dilfer, that was such an anomaly it's been referenced ever since. And if the 49ers, for some reason, felt like they had to move off of Brock Purdy in order to keep any of these three of any of the players that I read earlier, they deserve to be fired. And I mean that with like every ounce of my being, because Kyle Shanahan has tried so hard to find a quarterback, including trading 3 first-round picks, mortgaging the franchise's future to move up and get a guy that they thought was their guy for the future, and then like fell ass backwards into a car that just Brock Purdy happened to be driving and took him to a Super Bowl. He lucked out with Brock, and I think that you got to just take the blessing and say whatever you want, dude. As long as you're not asking for like $100 million per year, let's make it happen. You are our saving grace. I don't think Jed would have fired Kyle Shanahan, but if Brock Purdy wasn't here and Trey Lance panned out the way Trey Lance panned out, he deserved to be fired. I mean, in all honesty, because you don't make that sort of commitment for a player in the draft and it not work out and you still be on great terms. But the fact that Brock Purdy came in and saved his job or performed the way he did, I think saved his job. Mike, do you have something to add? Do you have a question?
So can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. So your answer is yes. Brock Purdy is worth a 3. Yeah?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What 3 are you choosing to give up instead of Brock Purdy?
I would be fine moving off of Dre Greenlaw, Charvarius Ward, and Deebo Samuel.
Well, Ward/Mooney, whichever one they decide on, is the guy that's going to get the big contract. Because one of those guys aren't going to be here in 2 years. Let's just agree to disagree on that.
So if I pick one, it's both of them?
Yes.
Okay.
So you're giving up one of those guys. Okay, so you're giving up a top corner, Dre Greenlaw, and who's the third person?
Deebo.
So you're willing to give up those 3 to keep Brock Purdy here. I just want to make sure that we're clear.
I think those are the 3. I mean,
okay.
My only hesitancy would want to replace a player like Diamador Lenore with an aging player like a Trent Williams or a George Kittle. But if they're still playing at a very high level, I think they have a bigger impact on this team than a Diamador Lenore would have. It would hurt, but I think it's worth it.
Absolutely. Matt, I got to get your answer here before I give any kind of insight here. And my insight isn't going to be like some loaded nonsense, but I do have a rebuttal, and then we can respond to it afterwards.
Sure. And I'm working under the assumption that, like we talked about earlier, that Brock Purdy is going to be at least at the level that he played at last year, if not a little bit better. I'm with Zach. I'd absolutely keep Brock Purdy just because the quarterback position is more important than every other position. There's not a lot of playoff teams that you see that don't have good quarterbacks, regardless of the roster around them, right? Devontae Adams on the Raiders is not making Aiden O'Connell or Jimmy Garoppolo better, right? Again, a lot of teams, 49ers are a perfect example of all the pieces needing to be there, right? It wasn't until Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman unlocked the talent that Alex Smith had that the 49ers, and then later Colin Kaepernick, that the 49ers, who went 5-11, 4-12, 3-13 under the likes of Mike Nolan and Mike Singletary with largely the same talent, turned into a perennial Super Bowl contender for those 4 years. It wasn't until they got the right staff in there to unlock the potential of the quarterback that the team actually, because listen, prior to Alex Smith finding it, Frank Gore was still playing well. Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman were doing their thing. Cowboy Smith was doing his thing. Like,
yeah, but
they were doing their thing.
But that's not on an equivalent level, because what I'm saying is to keep the quarterback, you got to get rid of some of that top end talent, right? So now you would have to decide between Vernon Davis, Justin Smith, Alvin Smith.
They got rid of Delaney Walker.
No, they didn't. They did not have the same success once those extra pieces walked out. Now you got to flash forward to 2014 when they only went 8-8, right? And so that's kind of my point, right? Before you respond,
but you're skipping over my point to even get there, because Alex Smith was still in the building when Mike Nolan and Mike Singletary were there, and they didn't do shit. It wasn't until the coaching staff got Alex Smith up to a certain level as a quarterback. Now, again, we're talking about disparity of talent in quarterback. Okay. Alex Smith pre-Jim Harbaugh was largely considered a bust.
But was that system or was that the player?
Doesn't matter.
Don't answer. Well, no. Don't answer, right?
No. But I have to answer because this is what we're talking about. I'm talking.
But it's not because
the perspective of the most important position in the NFL right now is quarterback. Name me a winning team, a consistently winning team that has a bad quarterback. I'll wait because you can't do it.
No, that's not true. The Niners did it with Alex Smith. The Niners did it with Colin Kaepernick. Neither of those guys, hear me out, neither of those guys were top 10 in their position when the Niners were going to NFC championships and Super Bowls, right? Wait, before you cut me off, right? Neither of those guys were that guy going into it, right? But what you do is, if you have a surrounding cast on both sides of the ball, let's say top 10 players at their respective positions at each position, then you were good. What I'm saying with this question is now all of a sudden we're going to have to give up some of those guys, just some of those pieces, right? We were fortunate to have Justin Smith, Alex Smith, and
I'd really like to finish my thought on this.
Alden Smith. All right, go ahead. Go.
Here's what I'm saying. Listen, Alex Smith continued that success on in Kansas City and was actually a really good quarterback in Kansas City. So Alex Smith was actually done it. I think personally, Alex Smith was done a disservice by the shitty coaching that was here prior to Jim Harbaugh. So I don't think it was a talent issue with Alex Smith. I think it was a coaching issue. And the fact of the matter, I think he had 3 head coaches and 5 offensive coordinators in his first 5 years in the league. So that to me is a coaching issue. That's not an Alex Smith issue because he went on and did it. Colin Kaepernick was a flash in the pan. That's why I said perennial success, right? Perennial success. Colin Kaepernick lasted 2 years, was good for 2 years, and then was shit for 2.5. Okay. This is kind of what I'm talking about. Jimmy Garoppolo, same thing, right? We have a great coaching staff here. Jimmy was good in 2019 and less so in 2021. And then he was garbage the rest of his time here. Flash in the pan. 1 or 2 years where he was good, or at least passable. And even then in the 2019 season, he had 18 pass attempts or whatever before they even got to the Super Bowl. So again, you can work around if you can play within the system. Now, here's my thing is that with Brock Purdy, if you think that he's a guy, then you have to look at other teams like the Kansas City model. Kansas City got rid of Tyreek Hill. They got rid of, a bunch of players in their offensive line. They got rid of D Ford. This is what the draft is for. If you think that the 49ers are competent at drafting, then you can get rid of a guy. And for me, I'll tell you who I'd get rid of. Trent Williams is going to retire anyway. Doesn't matter. George Kittle, who is starting to age out. He just had core muscle surgery. He's not going to be as good. And then Dre Greenlaw, I'm okay getting rid of as well. Just because, again, coming back from an Achilles, and they seem to be very good at drafting linebackers. So those 3 are who I would get rid of. And then with the honorable mention being Deebo Samuel, if he doesn't want to renew his contract, because his value has been severely diminished with Christian McCaffrey on this team.
Don't even name Deebo because you gave me 3, and that's what I wanted you to do. Right, so let's exclude Deebo and your example, right? But we saw the drop-off in defensive production in the defense in the Super Bowl, right? Mm-hmm. During the Super Bowl, while Dre Greenlaw was active, Patrick Mahomes on the sideline saying, dudes, they are bringing it. They got the momentum. They've got the hype. They've got the energy. We got to step it up. It wasn't until Dre Greenlaw went down that they said, okay, I think we got him right now. Don't take my word for it. Listen to any mic'd up segment of Super Bowl coverage that you want to believe.
Can I respond to that?
So here's go ahead.
But go ahead.
No, let Zach go. Go Zach.
I'll just say that is true, Mike. 100% true. But that's like the equivalent of, I don't know, getting caught out in a fucking thunderstorm, raining like crazy without an umbrella, and you're like, I'm fucked right now. And then next time you bring an umbrella, it's like the 49ers got caught with their pants down. But if they knowingly planned for the exit and the absence of Dre Greenlaw, then they could draft a player or groom a player or trade for a player that they think they could develop into. So it wouldn't. My only point is it wouldn't be as sudden of like, oh shit, who do we have?
and here's the thing too, in that game, remember that again. Talanoa Hufanga was gone like halfway through the year. So you have Tashawn Gibson and Jair Brown. Now, who's to say that Jair Brown doesn't play well later? But remember on that deep pass that Patrick Mahomes got in that first quarter, that Hail Mary that should have been picked off, Tashawn Gibson around like spinning in circles, like where the fuck is the ball? He pulled a Jaquiski Tart on that thing and couldn't fucking make the play when he needed to make the play. That's not a Dre Greenlaw thing. But again, they didn't plan for Talanoa Hufanga. The NFL is very specific. You're very limited in how much depth that you have when you take multiple injuries to certain positions, and they've always run super thin at linebacker, which I've disagreed with, because outside of Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw, their next best guy is Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles, who's like, that's fine, that's cool, but that's a severe drop off. And what Zach is saying, you have to plan for that, and that's what I'm planning. You better draft a left tackle because Trent Williams is going to retire at some point. You better draft another tight end that can do something because George Kittle is not going to be able to do the things that he's doing forever. You have to plan for this stuff. So I'm talking about Brock Purdy's not even eligible for an extension until after next season. Like they can negotiate it next year, but he can't. The new money is not going to hit until 2026. So if you haven't replaced Trent or haven't planned to replace Trent Williams or George Kittle, who are aging, or a Dre Greenlaw, who you don't know how he's going to recover from an Achilles, being the uber athletic guy that he is, if you haven't put that contingency into place, that's a failure of the organization, because Brock Purdy is going to get paid. Okay, that's my thing. You're going to have to pay your quarterback, because quarterback is the most valuable player on the team. That's just how it is. That's why they make all the money. That you're never going to win a Super Bowl. Listen, don't let the occasional, Nick Foles and the occasional Trent Dilfer. Don't let those guys fool you. That's the exception rather than the rule. Okay, but the rule is, when you look at playoff fields, each team typically has a very good quarterback, and the teams that don't, the Nick Foles year, it's because their quarterback got injured.
So here's my thing with everything that you guys are saying, and I agree with both of what you guys are saying, right?
Yeah.
And encompassing everything that you guys are saying, you're saying that the supporting cast is why we got here and we're successful, because you guys are talking about. Wait, no, you can't say no. Wait, hear me out. Hear me out. Both of what you guys are saying are Trent Dilfer and Nick Foles are the wait, but hear me. I haven't finished my thought. You can't disagree until I finish it, right? Okay. So both of what you guys are saying are Trent Dilfer and Nick Foles are the exception to the rule, right? Mm-hmm. Can we agree on that part so far?
Sure.
Okay. True or false, both of you, in 3 seconds or less, true or false, Brock Purdy is better than Jimmy Garoppolo. Zach, true or false?
True.
Matt, true or false?
True.
We have the same exact results with Jimmy Garoppolo at the helm and Brock Purdy at the helm. We can make it to a Super Bowl, but we can't win it. True or false? Your guys' thoughts?
False.
Oh, what do you mean false? Those are the results.
False, because when you show me a time that Brock Purdy left the field without a lead, and then you go back to that Kansas City.
It's not a no.
Hold on. No. Go back and show. What was Jimmy Garoppolo's fourth quarter numbers like in the Super Bowl?
Atrocious.
It was. I don't know. You can say atrocious. It's barely better than Brock Purdy's, because they were both not enough to win the game.
Brock Purdy did enough to win the game.
No, he did not, bro.
Yes, he did.
Okay, watch this.
When did he leave the field
man.
without a lead?
I think Mike's saying is, overall, it doesn't matter what happened,
because
results were the same.
Results. I'm talking about results, but Matt, to your point, Matt.
But how did the results get there? Why was the result the same? Was it the same reason? No, it was not. Brock Purdy was not the reason the 49ers lost the Super Bowl, whereas Jimmy Garoppolo was.
I'm with you. I swear to God. Wait. But I'm with you, because now you guys are willingly giving up Dre Greenlaw and that corner. Both of you guys named those two positions.
No,
so now we're. I thought you did
Trent
the Ward
Williams,
and
George Kittle and Dre Greenlaw.
Okay. But you both
and
are
then I
at least
honorable mention to Deebo Samuel.
Right.
But never mentioned corner.
But both of you guys named at least a defensive star. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay. So if that defense is taking a step back, we're warranting the same results.
Why do we think the defense is taking a step back, though?
Because you're losing either a Dre Greenlaw or a Deommodore Lenoir slash Travarius Ward.
So what's to say that Leonard Floyd and Malik Collins aren't going to be an upgrade over?
Leonard Floyd couldn't get through the first fucking training camp practice on his own, bro.
I'm just saying. Okay, but you're talking about so neither could Ricky Pearsall. Is he a bust?
I'm not talking about the offensive players. Those guys are not on this list. However, Dre Greenlaw and or corner are on this list, and you guys both chose to take the quarterback over one of those guys. Here's what we do know. With Jimmy Garoppolo, who is, you both agreed, less than Brock Purdy, we warranted the same results. So now you're willing to give up three of those guys, whether it be on offense or defense, to keep Brock Purdy. I think that means that the Niners take a step back, is all I'm saying.
Why?
I think that the Niners, in order to keep...
If the Niners take a step back, that means that you acknowledge that they're shitty at drafting and talent acquisition, which they clearly are not. You're talking about one fucking training camp practice right off rip.
We're talking about three players.
You know who else didn't make it through their first training camp practice? Lamar Jackson. Does he suck too, or no?
What do you mean he didn't make it through his first training camp practice?
He
made that roster. What are you talking about?
Out there for an hour today. This year.
You're talking about year 7 for Lamar Jackson, bro. He made the roster.
Well,
there's no question there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Leonard Floyd is going into year 10 and couldn't make it through it.
Mike,
right?
Let me ask you this.
Leonard Floyd wasn't one of the guys on this list. He was not one of the players named. Are you willing to give up 3 of those players to keep Brock Purdy? And y'all said yes.
No. But you wanted to scream over me without actually hearing my point. You're talking about losing a guy in Dre Greenlaw. So maybe the linebacking core isn't quite as good. However, in that Super Bowl run last year, we already talked about Chase Young, effort issues. They didn't have a good pass rusher opposite Nick Bosa. Leonard Floyd had 10.5 sacks last year. Malik Collins is a higher effort guy than Chase Young. If that D-line is better and they get more pressure on Patrick Mahomes, which they did not do in the Super Bowl, maybe it's a different result. Listen, it's not just one position group that makes the whole thing. It's a lot of different things.
It's not just one position group, but Brock Purdy's contract extension means we have to. This isn't me. This isn't. You can try to phrase it however you want. Once Brock Purdy gets this deal, 3 of these guys are gone off of this list. It's not a matter of if I want or if I think. This is what has to be because of the contracts.
How many people thought that Kansas City would never win a Super Bowl again after Tyreek Hill left?
Mike, let me ask
there
you
was a bunch. And how many have they won?
Zach,
since I know you're just playing devil's advocate, Mike, and I know you're just saying, imagine what the 49ers look like without it. But let's play the flip side. Let's keep all of these players
and lose Brock Purdy.
Yep. How good are the 49ers?
Yep.
Because
the Niners still get to the Super Bowl.
No, they
are competitive.
So
it doesn't matter. We did it with Jimmy Garoppolo, who was less that you guys both.
You think the 49ers are better at drafting or finding a quarterback, a star quarterback, than they are at drafting a second linebacker?
You're saying star
or finding low dollar replacements for people.
We just agreed 30 minutes ago. Brock Purdy's a top 12, top 5, top 8 quarterback.
Yes, I did agree with that. But what I'm saying is, you're saying
someone of that caliber.
But no, they don't need someone of that caliber. That's kind of my argument.
I'm going to kill this argument right now. How many linebackers are on the field at any given time? How many cornerbacks?
4.
How many wide receivers? How many offensive linemen? How many quarterbacks? Okay, we're done.
Matt, that didn't answer my question at all.
It absolutely answered the question because there's more talent to be put on the field. It's easier to replace linebackers than it is to replace a quarterback. It absolutely is. There are higher numbers of linebackers that play in this league. Yes.
Absolutely not. Because here's what I'm saying. The supporting cast is Trent Dilfer-esque, that 2000 Ravens team-esque without Brock Purdy, right? Trent Dilfer and those 2000 Ravens got it done without a Brock Purdy top 12-esque quarterback. You guys just admitted that. Not me. Okay. You guys admitted that.
But on the flip side,
stop. Wait.
They couldn't get it done.
No. But Jimmy Garoppolo warranted the same exact results as a Brock Purdy having 49ers cast. So if you get rid of those 3 and maintain or keep a Brock Purdy, to me, that equals a step back. How don't you guys see this?
So my only point is, I would agree with you, Mike, if the 49ers won the Super Bowl this year or last year, but they didn't. So if you're saying the only way they take a step back is losing any of these 3 players, that's ridiculous because they would clearly take a step back if they moved off and got another quarterback. So if they couldn't win it with a quarterback as good as Brock Purdy, if you're claiming it's the surrounding cast, that's the majority of the reason for their success, how could they carry a lesser quarterback to a Super Bowl victory when they couldn't even carry, I'm saying in their quotes, Brock Purdy to a Super Bowl victory?
Because they already carried a lesser quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo to the same exact results. Did we or did we not?
You're fine did we or did go to the Super Bowl?
No, I'm not saying no. Okay, very good question. And I hope everyone out there highlights this. That is a very good question by Zach, right? What I'm saying is it warrants the same results. We have a better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo and Brock Purdy. This is the Brock Purdy line. Jimmy Garoppolo was here, but it warranted the same results. Are we willing to give up 3 of those all-pro, Pro Bowl, really good players to keep a Brock Purdy at the market that is going to warrant a Brock Purdy staying here? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, the margin between just the quarterback position is this. That gap is real, but the supporting cast will take, this is the supporting cast, the lower one, it's going to take a step back. So much so. Is Brock Purdy that much of a difference? And that's the question that I'm asking you guys. I want you guys to be earnest with that. I want you guys to be honest with that. I don't know that Brock Purdy himself is worth this gap disparaging. That's I don't know that Brock Purdy is that, and that's what I'm asking you guys.
Yes, if we see a year like we saw last year, and like we saw his first stretch of 7-8 games, however many he played in 2022, 1000%, and I would expect him to even improve, thus covering the gap of losing any star players that they would have to cut ties with in order to afford his monster contract. And like Matt said, it's not going to hit until 2026.
Exactly. And you're going to lose some of these players anyway. So what are we even talking about? Trent Williams is not going to be here in 2026. He's not going to be here in 2026.
You don't know that. You don't know that.
I'd be willing to put money on it. It's better than even odds that he's not here.
How much you want to bet? $500 right now.
2026? Done.
$500 right now.
Done.
Shake on it on camera.
Yep. Let's do it. 2026.
I bet you $500 Trent Williams is here in 2026. Win or lose the Super Bowl, Trent Williams is here in 2026.
Listen. You can talk about, okay, so did you or did you not agree, again, like Zach said, Brock Purdy, top 5, top 8, top 12 quarterback?
Brock Purdy is definitely a top 10 quarterback.
Is it not that quarterback's responsibility, much like Patrick Mahomes or much like a Josh Allen, to elevate the talent and the playmakers around them?
Brock Purdy and Patrick Mahomes are very different because Brock Purdy doesn't make plays. He just extends the offense. He does not make plays.
Brock Purdy doesn't make plays?
Brock Purdy does not make plays the way that Patrick Mahomes does. No, he does not.
Okay,
you are lying to yourself.
That's different. He doesn't make the same. He doesn't make the same type of plays
as Patrick
Mahomes.
It's not maybe. It's not maybe. On a broken play, Brock Purdy does not make plays the way that Patrick Mahomes does. No one in their rightful mind is going to make that argument.
Not the same type of plays, but Brock Purdy can make plays off of broken plays. There's highlight reels showing that. Multitude of plays. A multitude of plays, whether it's with his legs, whether it's with his arm, whether it's running around in the pocket until somebody gets open. There's a multitude of plays. So are you arguing that you wouldn't want to pay Brock Purdy
over keeping 3 of those guys? I'd rather have Joshua Dobbs as our quarterback and keep those 3 guys.
Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. Get out of here.
No way.
Take him off.